Okay, I want to welcome everyone to the Federal Resume Workshop. I take it that everyone in this room today, you do want a federal job. Now, by the show of hands, how many of you guys have an account on usajobs.gov? Okay, that's about, okay, 1, 2. Everyone in this room, if you're really serious about getting a federal job, trust me, it's just like going to Walmart. Walmart, Federal USA Jobs is a one-stop shop. When you go to USA Jobs, you can do everything. All federal agencies are there. You can upload your resume. You can search for jobs. You don't need to go to another website to actually look and see what they have, unless you are selected to give an interview. Then you could go to that particular agency's website and learn more about the company. So we're gonna get moving forward here. I normally have an icebreaker once you guys introduce yourselves, et cetera, et cetera. But the third piece here, it says career goal and plan. Even though it's on an icebreaker, I ask that question because when you write your resume not just talk about your past, it's to spring forward to your future. So in other words, many of us in this room have 2 or 3 different things we can do. So what your plan is, your career plan is, that is what's going to help you get the job that you desire or the job that you're qualified to get. So just keep that in mind as we go forward in the presentation here. Now, my introduction is real simple. Just going to provide you some tips on how the process piece works in USA Jobs. Go over a few other nuances in USA Jobs, and then also I'll close out with some do's and don'ts on writing your federal resume. Amen. Why go federal? Why go federal? Why do you want to work for the federal government? Now, one of my points here is that it fulfills a personal mission. Some of us serve our country for X amount of years, and you feel like, okay, I'm out of the military now, did my 6 to 8 years, now I want to go ahead and work for civil service. You earn your stripes, you want to continue to help the boys and girls on the ground, the guys floating on the ships, etc., helping the war fighter. Or you're civilian, you did not ever serve your country in the military, however, you want to do it as a civil servant. You want to serve the people. So yeah, that's a great reason for to go federal. Another good opportunity that I've noticed is that the opportunity to advance in the federal government. Talk about job announcements, what you're looking at. When you read a job announcement, some job announcements posted on USA Jobs are only for one position only. But then there's some that you see a career ladder, maybe a GS5 through a GS11. That's what you call a career ladder job announcement, a position. So yeah, you want to apply to that one, and then as long as you do your job right, you'll continue to grow and get promoted each and every year. Excellent training that's offered to you in the federal government in civil service and opportunities. You can get some great training that comes from outside the federal government. They hired in to come in and give us quality training. Some of it is technical training and focus on our jobs, and then there's some soft skills training, communication, et cetera, to help you develop into a fine leader in your organization. Then also the federal government has strong worker rights. Most of us seek and work in the federal government because it takes a lot to lay you off. We're not looking at getting rid of people, but the thing I want you to remember is that you still have to perform while you work in civil service. We have a strong work ethic. We want you to perform like you would if you was working at Target, you were working at Walmart, you were working at one of the top 500 companies in the nation. So why go federal? Great opportunities, everlasting career fields, and it provides great retirement pieces. Now this next slide is one of my top five tips to help you write your resume. These are very key. It's going to help you get to the next level in getting interviewed and also probably getting selected for a position. Many veterans I talk to, they don't write their resume the way they should. They don't really be specific enough, and then also they may be applying to the wrong job announcement. And they expect to get veteran preference, and civilians with no preference are applying to another type of announcement, and they'll never get looked at. So I'm here to help you, and my first tip is to determine your strongest skill set, what it is that you really can do, and that's what you should look at. Now, let me say this though, sometimes like you spend maybe 15, 20 years, in the service or doing a certain occupation, you're out now, you're tired of it, you want to do something completely different. Like last week, you gave a workshop, young lady, sailor, 20 years, logistics specialist. She got out, she's out now, she don't want to do that anymore. She want to do something completely different. But one thing you need to look at, like I shared with her, is that she has to look at what's going to give her food on the table, what's going to pay her bills. Her passion about doing the work may not get her a job. Now, she wanted to change occupations and work in a help field. Commend her, truly commend her for wanting to help out veterans. But she don't have a lot of experience. All the experience she has been a veteran herself. Any company, not private sector and also federal, they want to look at their return on investment. If I hire you, will you be able to bring in me, save dollars, increase my funding, develop my people, reduce waste? Those are the things management look at. So, like I told her, like I'm telling you today, is that look at your strongest skill set, get a job in logistics, and then while you're working in logistics, begin to look at or get yourself ready for the job that you want to do. In her case, she wanted to work with veterans. Maybe I recommend to her that she will volunteer at a veterans home. Volunteer, maybe get some classes, whatever, to help her be more qualified for when she applied to the job. So my number 2 is this, guys, is look at what are you passionate about doing. Many times people try to find a job that they chasing a dollar. They want to get rich quick. They know what the top 5 job opportunities are, and they try to find them, get the resume, work it towards that, and where they don't really have enough experience. For example, I was helping a wounded warrior several years back, and he wanted to get into IT. And I'm looking at his resume, I'm talking with him on the phone, and I didn't see a lot of IT experience. So I talked to him, and I just I asked him a question. I say, sir, what are you passionate about doing? And he told me, you know what? He said, Dennis, I'm really passionate about being a dog trainer. I say, really? Kind of chuckle a little bit, and I asked him, well, my next question was, do you have any experience being a dog trainer? He said, yes, I have 8 to 10 years of military experience as a dog trainer. So right there, I just told him, say, your strongest skill set is a dog trainer. You have a passion to do that, and you don't want to chase the dollar, because IT, as we all know, is every business now having a network set up. Even churches today have a network set up. So we worked on his resume for a dog trainer and posted him and market him on the Wounded Warrior program. And next thing you know, a month later, his resume was requested. And so everything was good. He got selected, got hired, and it was a good success story. Now for me, I don't know what's out there. I just felt like I wanted to guide him and help him determine his real true path, instead of just trying to find the dollar, because he probably wouldn't have ever got hired as an IT tech. So that was a good success story. So I tell you today to look at your passion, look at what you want to do, because you want to get up in the morning and be happy to go to work. You don't want to be dry, oh my goodness, I do not want to go to work today. I do not like what I'm doing, I don't like the people I'm with, so there'll be a lot of things that can hold you back. My number 3 is that this is key, especially for those that are severely disabled. And it is, if you have a severe disability, get a Schedule A letter, because you may have been doing as a jet mechanic or heavy truck operator for a number of years, 5 or 6 years, and that's great. But if you get injured and you can no longer do that work, like one of my buddies did in Afghanistan, he actually ran over an IED, lost his right arm. So when he came back to the States and he got out of the military, he couldn't do that type work anymore. So I recommend that he get a Schedule A letter, and what that does is help you determine another career, okay? Then when you post your resume and the Schedule A letter on USA Jobs, they'll see that, okay, he has a Schedule A, more likely severe disability, so he or she won't have to meet the actual skill level that's required, that's in the job announcement. So it's a lot of more stuff that goes on with that. So if a person that you are severely disabled, your resume needs to be written towards your new skill, your new job experience. Number 4 is once you figure out all that you're doing and you can do now, and your skill level, your passion, etc. Now you begin to tailor your resume to a job announcement. Now this here is nothing new, tailoring your resume to a job announcement, because in the private sector they do it on those jobs in your resume, and also in the federal. So tailoring your resume, it takes a little bit of skill. On a federal resume in USA Jobs, they have certain sections on there that you need to pull keywords and put into your resume, but with your own experience. And my last piece here, number 5, is to translate. I want to say it again. Translate. Translate, yeah, your military jargon that you may be accustomed of using, and also civilian language too, or jargon. So you turn that into basic civilian language that anybody can understand. What I normally do is tell people, once you write your resume, have maybe your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, whoever, look over your resume. And when it comes across things that they can't understand, then you can look at it and see if you need to, downplay the words. Okay? So those are my top 5 tips that I tell everyone when I help them write their resume, things to look at so that the resume can be stronger. Now my next slide here, I want to talk to you about some myths about applying for the federal government. There's a lot of talk out there, things that we used to do, we don't do anymore. A lot of people, a lot of job seekers think that we still do some of these things. For example, resumes are scanned for keywords in USA Jobs. That's a strong myth, but that doesn't happen. Your resume is not scanned for keywords. It used to be in the old system back in 2011 and earlier under the old program, but now today is not scanned for keywords. Now, are keywords important? Like I said in the prior slide, yes. Keywords are vital to have in your resume. When you turn your resume, that's how we can identify you have the necessary specialized experience for the job. So definitely keywords are important, but just know, I put this in here so you know that USA Jobs do not scan your resume. Another myth, some of you may have heard this one here, is people say when you take because when you apply to a USA job announcement, you have to take the assessment. So when you take the assessment, people know you won't get forwarded to management unless you mark expert on all the assessment questions. That's so true. Now, the thing about it is, once your resume or your application gets past the first wave, a real person has to look at it. And what we're looking at is that your assessment, score expert, and your resume. Wherever you mark expert, we need to see the expert experience in your resume. Now, when we say expert, we're saying that you can do the job by yourself. Not that you're the all-knowing person on this one occupation. It just, some of you guys who apply to the job, it's just talking about the one question that you're looking at to answer. Okay, that's just a myth. I want to clear that up so you know. And your assessment is how you self-certify that you have the experience to actually get the job, that you qualify for the position. All right. Now, my third myth that I've learned from talking to a lot of job seekers, that now some people hear this from other people. You may think that's okay to do because you may be struggling in writing your resume. Some people will say this, just copy and paste the duties from the job announcement to your resume. That's not the way to do it. That's not how you write your resume. All right, and the reason why is job announcements are written in a task format. Your resume needs to be written in a accomplishment piece. So your resume should not be a task type resume. It should be focused on what you accomplished. Because what you accomplish is what's going to let the hiring manager see that you have the necessary experience and skills to do the job, okay, at whatever that level that you applied to. Now, my fourth myth, people tend to really think that this is true when they say federal HR already know who they want to hire before they release a job announcement. That would be pretty messed up, because for the HR folks to do all that work and they already know who they want to hire, is not necessarily true, okay? There are other ways that HR folks in the federal government can hire somebody who they know without posting a job announcement on USA Jobs. So yeah, so that's not a true statement. So don't get discouraged to see a job announcement. I want to encourage you to go ahead and apply to every job announcement that you feel that you are qualified for. Okay. Now, before applying to a job, there are two things you really need to look at, okay, before you apply. I know there's a lot of information. The federal side really look at if you're eligible for a job, then are you qualified for the job? Those two things are completely separate, okay? So eligibility is based off of time and grade. Like you were when you were in the military, you had to be at E5 for so many years before you'll take the E6 exam. That should ring a bell to you. So before you can't take the E6 exam 6 months before you're eligible to take the E7 exam. There's a period you have to wait. I think it's 3 years if it hadn't changed. So, and what we're looking at is that the time and grade, when you read a job announcement, it'll say, let's say, for example, you're applying to a GS 7 position. The job announcement under the qualifications piece, it'll say you must have 1 year specialized experience for the 1 grade below the job level you're applying to. So basically what it's saying is, so you have to have 1 year specialized experience at the GS6, so 52 weeks at the GS6 before you be able to apply to the GS7 or GS5 if there's a 2-level graded job announcement. So it may sound a lot, but don't get frazzled behind the actual definition of time and grade. So just make sure that you do have the time and grade, or else you will not go beyond this level in the grading process for this position. You'll be determined not qualified, not eligible for this position. Now, this is a way that we do look at it. Let's say that you applying to a position, and I want to go back and say this. When we look at the 1 year specialized experience, it also say equivalent experience. So, in other words, you in the military, you have a hiring authority, a VEOA, okay? The equivalent experience, or it means basically that your military experience, your resume has to be written at, and this is my example, at the GS6 or the GS5, depends on if it's a 2-level position. So your resume needs to be written at that level, grade below the job you're applying to, your equivalent experience. So, and that's where somebody like myself can help you fine tune your resume so that way you could be, go to the next level, get an interview at least. You get an interview that's good. That's what I always say. You want to get your resume through so that you get an interview, you're good. Not guarantee you'll get hired, but if you get an interview, that's a positive mark there. And the next piece on the eligibility is we look at a combination of education and experience. So you may not have the full 1 year specialized experience, but you have education. You may have maybe 9 credits towards an associate degree. I'm not sure the math on that, but 9 credits could convert into 6 months. So if you worked a part-time job, 20 hours a week, we convert that's 6 months. So if you were to do that, have that 1 work experience for 1 year, you will not be eligible to apply to that GS7 job. But if you have education and the part-time work, both equal 6 months equals 1 year, yes. So we'll look at a combination of your experience and education. Now, let's say this though too, your education must be from an accredited college, okay, to be used to bring you on board. I know I said a mouthful about eligibility, but it's a lot of stuff that some things that you need to know before you apply. And I don't really want people wasting their time, okay? So the next piece is qualified. Once you determine that you are eligible for this position, now you gotta look at, are you qualified? Management wants someone that's best qualified. They want you to come in and really hit the ground running and knowing what you're supposed to know at the position you got hired at. So if below the position you got hired at. So if you apply to a GS7 job, they'll expect you to know everything from the GS6 and below. You guys get it? And then you have that 1 year to really get to the GS7 level, okay? Now, what you have to also look at is you'll determine your civilian rank. Now, I coined this phrase here, civilian rank, based off, of course, military folks understand the rank structure better. So basically what I'm saying is you need to determine your skill level. So when you're looking at a job announcements, let's say, for example, I like logistics because they have a lot of job announcements, have a lot of experience. So that's out there because of a pretty high turnover occupation. So you're logistics 0346, you say you go to USA Jobs and you've been doing logistics for about a good 10 years. What happens, now I'm not saying it happens to everybody, but what I've learned and observed is that you don't really know what your skill level is. And when you see all these job announcements, and what you do, what some of us do is that we look at what we got paid while we were in the military or our last civilian job. Especially in the military, logistics is a good occupation in the military that easily cross over into civilian sector, but not completely. So there will be some certifications you may not even have in the job, and some jobs that you may not have been able to do under your military occupation. But civilian side, those guys get the opportunity to do it. So you need to do is look at the job announcement based off of your skill level. Well, how did I find out my skill level? Basically what you do is I will recommend to start off, depends on how many years you've done that one job. If you've done that logistics job for about, let's say 10 years, then look at probably around the GS7, GS9. And then let's say the GS9, open the job announcement. So I don't know if you guys know this, but every job announcement, it has a link to the assessment questions. So you just go through that, and I share more of this when you're in the workshop. But look at that and determine if you can do the job at the best qualified level or expert level. Honestly, you saying, yeah, I can really do the job at this level, then you would mark expert. And if you say an expert on pretty much all the assessment questions, which range from about 5 to about maybe 15, 20 questions, then you will be good at that skill level. But if you're saying that you don't have expert level, you need a lot of supervision to do the job, then you might want to step down from a GS9 job description, job announcement, drop down to a GS7, okay? Because you're really trying to find out your skill level. You're not trying to get rich on your first job. Just like it was when we came in the military. We all came in boot camp, those that served, E1s, maybe E2s. It took us a couple years, 3 or 4 years after that, we were E5s and ready to make E6. So the same step ladder we took going to boot camp in the military is the same step ladder that we got to take working in civil service. Civil service is not known to make people rich, as we all know, but it's good to have good work stability and benefits. Okay, so back to your civilian rank or your skill level. Once you determine that, okay, my skill level is a GS7 because I'm able to do the work without no supervision. That's what expert really means. You're doing a job with no supervision. And the questions will ask you that too. So you can see it in the assessment piece. So I do recommend that everyone take the assessment prior to actually applying to the job. Okay, print out the assessment. If you feel this job announcement is for you, print out the assessment, go through it. Be honest with yourself, because if you don't, you're just wasting your own time. You can think, you may want to be a GS9 and the money looks better for you and you apply, but your resume, you don't have the skill level to do it, you would not get selected, at the GS9. So it's best to find out where you're at and then start there and then work your way up. Once you get selected, get hired. Okay, so 2 things that you really need to look at before you even apply to a position is your first thing is you're being eligible for the position, and the second thing is that you're qualified. And you're a manager, You want somebody that's best qualified. You want to bring on somebody that really know what they're doing, that can come in, hit the ground running without you spending a whole lot of time. Yes, we're going to need some training once we start, but you're going to be able to, the person will be able to, you will be able to do the work that you say in your resume that you can do. Probationary period is now up to 2 years for most occupations. So that means that you got to be, you should develop some good work behaviors within the 2 years and not necessarily keep the bad habits, because you definitely want to continue to work hard even after you're selected. The big issue is before you get selected, during the probationary period, like any other organization in California, we can let you go just like that. So you want to be able to work hard. In management, these guys are trained a lot more now, the supervisors. They're looking for stuff to make sure that you will be a good fit, because they have to make a hard decision as they get close to you coming on full-time permanent employee. So it's just more work for them once you're a permanent employee to performance manage you out of the organization. So 2 years is good, really. You can develop some very positive work habits. There's some stories that of a couple wounded warriors I know that actually fell short, trying to follow the culture, what they were doing, and they end up getting laid off. So definitely recommend, not laid off, getting terminated. So I definitely recommend that you work hard, stay, positive, and do the best you can. Now, in this next slide, I want to point out some differences between the some do's on how to write your resume, and then some don'ts. The first do I have here is this: write your resume using, plain language, the words you normally speak, use on a daily basis in your occupation. Don't necessarily, get up the swords and try to use 1,000 words now that you're writing a resume. This is not the time to try to impress people how you can write. We want you to come to the job and work it then. Okay. The next one is what I do is to write your resume using many paragraphs, not necessarily the bullet style resumes. Those are, of course, for private sector, and we want, because you allow up to 5,000 characters per employment history in USA Jobs. So we want you to use that up to not just fill in space, but to really be specific enough in your resume that you can get an interview at least. So use about 5 to 7 sentences to make up many paragraphs, and then keep those many paragraphs focused on that one skill, whatever you're talking about. So it makes it easier. Use action. Start your resume off using action, active verbs. Don't use the pronouns. The noun when you're describing yourself and the work you've done. Again, jargon. Remove the jargon in your resume. Very, very important to make it clear. And it's like any other English paper. You have an acronym. Spell out the acronym first, and then you can use the acronym down into your resume so we can see it. And just know this too, guys and gals, speak to your accomplishments in your resume. That is what's going to get you hired, not what you're responsible for. I remember seeing one resume, the guy spoke a lot about what he was responsible for. And it's good to have a little bit of pride, what you're responsible for, but trust me, what you're responsible for is not going to get you hired. Any employer, any manager, selected official want to see what it is that you did. So you want to speak on your accomplishments. Talk about what you did. Talk about how you saved the money, how you develop your team. Talk about the wins, the positives that you did in the organization. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier about adding keywords. Keywords are key when writing your resume. So it really helps tailor your resume to that one job announcement. But just know your resume, making it vague here, it says I'm good at at stuff. That's very vague, I'm good at stuff. You want to be specific. Now, what helps you get specific in writing your resume? First of all, you don't want to eat the whole apple at one time. You want to be able to take bites at a time, and I have here broken down into how you can do that. First, you want to, get organized. You want to go ahead and gather all your evaluations, your awards, any kind of evals that you receive over your time, and then don't worry about getting it tailored or just one area right away. Just go ahead and just gather everything you have. Okay, this is a little project. It's not going to take you a day or two to really complete this. It's going to take several days to do it right, so you have a better idea of what you're doing. Then the next step is to plan what it is that you want to do. Okay, so if you've been a maintenance manager, for about maybe 10 years of your military career, but it's time for you to get out and you want to do maybe HR work, you have to go through all your documents to take out only the HR stuff. Okay, highlight just the HR stuff and put that on a separate resume. So that's your plan. If your plan is to be an HR generalist or assistant or specialist, or even you want to be in training, whatever your goal is, your plan is, your career goal is, that is what you're going to go through all your documents, even your awards, to pick out specialized areas to put on a resume. Once you can gather that, now you can tailor your resume to a job announcement. And then look at all the job announcements that falls under your skill set, whatever that may be. And this be clear that every agency will have something a little different about what they expect from you. So if you're looking at HR, let's say under the training piece, training officer under Department of Navy may be one way, things they want you to do, but under Department of Treasury, there may be a few other things that they require of you, maybe some kind of certification. Maybe they're looking for your master training specialist cert. You never know. So the goal that is, you must read the job announcement. So you tailor your resume and you get the assessment, you get the resume, you have your stuff, then you go ahead and begin to write your first draft. Okay, you just do the best you can, try to take it, again, one bite at a time. It's going to take you probably a couple weeks, a good month or so, unless you have us do it for you. We can do it much faster and help you get to the next step. So definitely want to do that. Here's a sample resume that we've done here recently. Of course, the format may be a little different on the screen here, but we did it in Word and we captured the first parts of the job announcement. In USA Staffing, the recommendation is that you build your resume in there because there are fields that are mandatory for federal employers. So, but we did this, and then the next piece is what I'm talking about. You see the strategic thinker. We have the meeting paragraphs employed here. Normally, those like the word strategic thinker and the next meeting paragraph deploys metric-based solutions are like keywords that are in the job announcement. So when management is looking through your resume, because you say you're an expert, they can automatically see, oh, strategic thinker who manages, and it breaks it down into your here on your resume. To me, this is a strategic way to write your resume and also get hits on your resume. So this is another page 2 of that. Then copy the entire resume, put down some 5 points from that resume onto here to the PowerPoint here. And we go to this. We almost done here. This is I do have a resume service. I served my country for 26 years. I was a jet mechanic, believe it or not. After you make rate up to chief, you start doing more administrative work, and from there I start, moved on, kept doing more HR work. But as I getting close to retire, I look back and put all that stuff on paper. As a maintenance officer, you're doing a lot more HR. So for me, I just jumped into the HR work. Got lucky and got a job with Target Retail. I worked for them for a couple of years, so I understood private sector HR generalist stuff. And I worked for the federal government for a good 7 years at HR, conducted numerous resume workshops, helped over 400 veterans, spouses get employed within the federal government. And now as I move forward with my life and career, started up a mom's resume service. And you see here on the screen, we have a few things that we do to support you. And you see at the bottom here, we have a success story of one of the guys that I helped. Like what he had said, this guy here, I did not ask him to do this, but he went to Facebook and he posted this here and basically said, thank you for my support. He landed a federal career within 6 months after attending one of my workshops. So it was a great, that's really good to hear. I got many more success stories on how we helped, how I helped veterans get transition into the federal government. Any questions? Thank you for your time.